Sister Monet, would you make me the co-host, ma'am, so I can invite
Sure.
people on? We have a special guest, Mr. Fred Lewis, is going to talk about uh, Medicare and affordable care health and the research he's done on how it's going to impact our communities. He's been doing this for quite a while, in fact, so I want to be sure to bring him on. He said he'd be on about 1:40.
He's
He,
on.
he, he
He's
is.
on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't see you, Cheryl. Assalamu
Well,
alaikum.
would you make me the co-host as well? For no other
Yes,
particular reason except I would just want to be co-host.
Okay.
that,
Let's
that,
not.
I don't have
that's,
no reason.
that's
Actually,
good enough for me.
I made Brother
Just
Fleming
like
host.
see, I just like seeing co-host next to my name. That's it.
Oh, man. That's my sister. That's my sister from the West Coast where the sun
That's right,
sets.
from the West
That's a
Coast.
part of the
Good
personality.
morning. Good morning, Mr.
Good one.
Lewis. Good morning. Now you see the spirits of the
Ah,
show, La Baricua. The spirit of La Baricua
La
is in the
Barrica.
house.
Uh, yes, for the
The spirit
sunset
of the
rising
West
from the
Coast. You
east.
know, you got the subdued spirit of the East Coast
Oh my
now.
God.
Now you understand why the sun sets in the west.
Mm, mm, mm. But the flowers will not grow without the sun rising from the east. Nor will
You're
the
rising
grass
in the
grow.
east. This is why you get tired quicker.
Uh-oh. Oh, we last a long time now. I'm gonna stop right there because we're getting too far.
You're not going to win this discussion, Fleming. You're not going to win that argument.
No, sir.
Oh man, that's what I'm
No,
like. That's
sir.
what I'm like.
And I do
All right,
this
I'm so glad
without
we're with each other.
Walaikum assalam, everyone.
I do these without cafe.
Ah, I don't know if the world can handle you with cafe, boy. That's we're ready for
Oh,
Sister
this what my
Cheryl
mom's
after
this is what my
cafe.
mom says. I run a cafecito with sin café, solamente agua.
I never told you this before, Cheryl, but you remind me so much of my daughter. She's always giving me a hard time over what I consider mutual conversations. She's the same way. Everything I say, she has something to say. I say, okay, baby. Selena, you won that one, baby. I'll get the next one.
That's
Yes,
the only
But
one.
there
come
will,
back,
there
huh?
will, there will be a next one. There will be a next one.
That's the only I'm looking for. That's the only I'm looking for. I like
Yes.
I like three little words. You know what my favorite three words are? My favorite three words. Want me to tell you?
Let's,
Want me to tell you?
yes, please tell us.
You were
Right.
right.
With that said, we want to invite everybody to MAP5 today on the lovely day of October the 13th, Monday, 2025. And you're hearing three co-hosts on this program today. We have the illustrious Honorable Cheryl Sudduth. We have the distinguished Sister Amatullah. Uh, I always keep messing with
Alaji-Sabrie.
your last Alaji-Sabrie, thank you so much. And Brother Fleming
Alaji,
El-Amin.
Alaji, Alaji-Sabrie.
Alaji-Sabrie, please correct your brother. You know, I'm prone to make a mistake every now and
That's
then.
okay. That's okay.
Every now and then. And we invite you all to tune in, of course, to be educated, to be inspired, to be engaged in your civic responsibilities as a part of our MAP5 audience, which is dedicated to civic engagement, civic involvement, and of course, action to put your faith into practice. So today we like to always have our icebreakers, but before we do that, let's say a prayer as we usually do sometimes. And we'll start off this time with the first chapter of the Holy Quran in Arabic, and then we'll, of course, translate it into English. And the prayer goes like this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. Amen. So I seek refuge with Almighty God from the influence of Satan in my life. With the name of Almighty God, Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord and cherisher of all the worlds. Merciful Redeemer, merciful benefactor, master of all the systems of knowledge. Thee do we worship, and that aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the will of those upon thou hast bestowed thy grace, not those who go astray or incur thy wrath. Amen.
Amen.
So again, welcome to MAP5, Muslim America Power 5, devoted and mission to civically engage your participation. We also, of course, encourage you to stay informed of what's really going on in your community, what's happening across your state and country and your world, because we're all world citizens as well as our local responsibilities. And I know it's an icebreaker. We have our sister Cheryl, used to break someone off for us. And I'm going to give her that privilege today because there's so much in the news. I'm literally just coming back from my 50th class reunion from college in Iowa. I couldn't even get into the house without hearing all kind of stuff about what's happening, of course, with Gaza and the 45, 47 over there beaming. But I think a lot of we have at least a pause in that tragedy and that genocide over there. And inshallah, the 20-point plan will come to fruition. I'll reserve my comments until I see the 20-point plan myself. But thank Allah, at least for the stopping of the slaughter of 6 to 7,000 innocent people in Gaza and counting, and the slaughter of the innocent people in Israel who had to incur the wrath of a historical mistreatment by the Zionists in that country. With that said, Sister Cheryl, I know that was a little serious note to start off with, but what you have for us today for an icebreaker? Did we lose my sister? Did she get lost in the West Coast?
She's swimming in the Pacific.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one. The biggest ocean. Oh, man.
Freestyle. Freestyle.
Oh, man.
Before we begin
inshallah, I'm coming your way.
I do want to acknowledge that today is we're ending Hispanic Heritage Month, but we are on this day of Indigenous Peoples Day. We are starting Indigenous Peoples Month.
Yes.
And so with that, one of my favorite quotes, whether it's for this recognition or as you know that I am an environmental scientist, one of my favorite quotes is only when the last tree is died, the last river poisoned, the last fish is caught, will we recognize that we cannot eat money. And I wanted to say to you that there is a native prayer. I keep these prayers. There's a lot of them. I keep on my along with Al-Fatiha, I keep these prayers. My grandmother used to tell us, I keep them on my computer so that I can see them. So when something's happening, there's a Native American healing ritual that I keep in front of me. Someone's saying something to me, they have no idea why I'm just smiling. Because I'm reading the prayer, I'm not thinking about them, I'm not letting them get to me. I wanted to, as I was listening to the news this weekend and I was thinking about everything that's going on, I was thinking about what there was something that was said about when I was at we had a CARE event this weekend, the Council on American Islamic Relations. We had our West Coast Gala and our awards. And I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But there was something that was said about this image of the children running into the village and this cat that was dancing. And even though in your head you know that was AI, holding on to that image as if it were real. Because you have to have hope. We had these bracelets that were our entry bracelets that said hope on it, right? I was listening to the Attorney General from New York, Letitia James, and she said something that struck me because my grandmother always said this. And I brought this question up in our last segment together last Monday, and I just wanted to get your reaction on this. She said, I may not quote this exactly, so don't hold me. She said, I am a woman of faith. And because I'm a woman of faith, I know that fear and faith cannot reside in the same space. And that's my faith teaches me that I do not walk alone, and that no weapon formed against me will not prosper. So I wanted to ask you today that regardless of what's happening with this so-called peace talks, peace treaty, because I was watching, and I watched as the news is reporting, or the one-sided news is reporting Hamas releasing these people to Israel, and 47's interpretation of that, but he landed in the middle of the night in Israel, and he was speaking to the Israel parliament, but he was speaking and he said, this is a great day for Israel. And I was waiting because there was 3 protesters for Palestine who said something about, and they were only asking, or holding up signs, and they said they were asking to say something about Palestine. And they were carried out by the Israel military, whatever you call the people of the court. I asked you about this hope and this fear. What word do you hold? Maybe it's more than one word. What word do you hold in relation to this, not just the ceasefire, but this so-called peace treaty? And I say this because we live in a world where we are talking about world peace, but we live in this domestic violence, where at the same time you're talking about building this facade of world peace, you're sending troops to our domestic cities. So what word would you use to describe what is happening? I still use hope for myself, but what word or words, maybe you have more than, do you use right now to aid the people? I know it's a challenging question, but we have to give them something. Brother Fleming, you're the
My
host
beloved
today,
sister.
sir.
Yes, I am. And my first words to the people, especially those Palestinians, and of course the Israelis too, it's a 5-letter word, and that is faith. Independent of your political environment, you have to maintain that seed or mustard seed of faith to carry forward. Sadly, we have people who say one thing, and I'll use a specific language that I heard 47 say, the golden age And I know that comes from an era of history when the early caliphs and al-Islam was referred to as the golden years of al-Islam. In fact, there are books written about the glorious caliphs, etc. So there was an indirect message trying to suggest that indeed this 20-point plan will bring about that kind of, quote, symbolism of peace. I have a lot of reservations because I do believe in faith. I also believe in holding people accountable. And I don't see accountability built in just yet. I have not, to be honest, read the whole 20-point plan. I saw some of the people flying into Egypt from some of the wealthy countries, of course, in the Middle East. And my first question to them was, why have you been silent for so long? All these people have been killed all this time. And now all of a sudden you want to put billions of dollars into that place called Gaza. Who's going to benefit from that? Who's going to be the management of that? And who's going to hold people accountable once you invest to make sure that nothing cricket happens on the dead end of that? Because people don't invest just for the fun of it, just out of our faith traditions. They want an ROI, a return on the investment, especially people who are in the classification of being billionaires. So my hope, my faith is that things will be resolved. I'm really curious about what kind of organizational structure they have in terms of government in that part of the world. And I've studied the Middle East going back to the First World War I and how it came into existence, et cetera. So I know some of the foundational logic behind it. It's going to take more than a 20-point plan to establish, a resolution, but it is a beginning. So I come back to the word faith. I have faith that Almighty God is always in charge, but we got to do our part to hold people accountable, to use faith as a vehicle to attract people into their political environment. I'll stop there because, I can go a little bit more than 30 seconds. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Sister, nice. Thank you. Sister.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand what you're asking us. Can you restate it again, please?
Just wanted to, similar to what Brother Fleming just said, what would you say to people, especially right now? Because there's, from what I'm reading, what I'm hearing is people have, deservedly reservations about what is happening and why, and what's the, if I can say, for lack of another word, what the end goal is for this 47 and why. And to Brother Fleming's point, he brought up a good point. Why now? Why are Jordan and Saudi Arabia, Iraq, right? Why are you stepping in now with money when you wouldn't seize before? So what do we say to people who are looking at this, especially families who've lost generations and they just want the fighting to stop? I mean, and it's not just Palestinians, but there's a lot of Israelis who want it to stop too. So what do we say? What do we hold on to? Faith is one, hope is another. What do we hold on to?
Oh, boy. Well, I would underscore both of those, faith and hope, but the reason why I wanted to get a clearer understanding of what you were asking is because I think that it's important for us to hold Israel, particularly, especially, accountable to not break the agreement as they have consistently done in the past. So I would say we have to hold the leaders in that region accountable to make this work so that the Palestinian people that we have what I would call a just empathy for what they have suffered, the challenges that they have endured over the past, 77 years or so, 80 years. So, faith and hope that holds the leaders of that region accountable. Because, to be honest with you, I'm glad that the armed conflict has stopped and that they are letting more of the aid getting in. And you mentioned the legacy media and what their coverage of the situation, and they talk about, the emaciated hostages and how bad they look and their family members were concerned. What about the malnourished to the point of death children and adults who are Palestinians? Um, so I would hope that the humanity of the Palestinian people, that people finally wake up to that point and not be conned by this administration and the Netanyahu government. Because even before they agreed to it, they were talking about, you know, breaking it. So, I mean, he had I think Haaretz newspaper had a headline about that or a story about that I read. So I'll be hopeful, but I will certainly encourage people to hold 47 accountable and not use this to keep his campaign for a Nobel Peace Prize. This shows you how deranged the man is. This shows you how deranged he is. And I saw a headline, I didn't even read the story this morning about how he was saying, and this is a tangent, but it's related to his state of mind, I think, how the Venezuelan Machado, who won the Nobel Peace Prize, how they won it in his name. I'm like, this
Yeah.
man,
Yes.
I know he went to Walter Reed for his physical and for cognitive testing, and I know they can't release the result of that cognitive test because we would definitely enact the 25th Amendment. So I'm sorry for being Debbie Downer, Debbie Downer, but that's what I see. I mean,
Yeah.
Can I add 2 cents?
Who is it? Oh, Sister
Tahita.
Tahita. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see you. Okay.
So I added in the chat, you know, decades of Palestinian people and so my thing is, what about one humanity? I mean, I'm very empathetic towards the people that, are returning home, the 20 home that are returning home. Of course, their families suffered so much, and it's a blessing to, you know, come back together, reunite with your family members. But what about the Palestinians? I mean, are they not humans? Did they not suffer even more? But that's gone ignored and not important. So that's my concern. To look at this as we are one humanity, but pray, pray, and also when you pray, you also have to watch as well as pray.
Right.
Yes.
That's my
I-
2 cents.
Thank you. I think that what I wanted to bring up, and I see your hand. Give me 1 second. I think it's part of this for me and my daughter and her friends and I had this conversation, and I cautioned them because they had this view and they were like, I mean, they're kind of hardcore. These this Gen Z is real hardcore. They're like, I don't care about them. I don't care about them. I'm just looking at the Palestinians. And I said, don't do that. I I try really hard not to say something like, but this or yeah, but this. My my view is that neither life is sacrificial, neither life is disposable. And I think what I'm having the hardest time with this so-called agreement is that you have to, we won't turn over any of these political people. We won't turn over any Palestinian hostages. We won't turn over anyone until you turn over all of these 1830 or however many Jewish hostages. And it sends the message that these particular lives are more valuable than the 100,000 people who've been killed or who've been emaciated. That the genocide is justified by the 45 hostages, or however many.
Mhm.
That is where I struggle with.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
20
if they
alive and
It's
24
not,
That's fine.
I struggle with this. I'm
Yes.
admitting that I'm struggling with it. I would struggle with it if it
Mhm.
were reverse. If it were Muslims to Jews. If I struggle with it in the Congo, I struggle where it is, Muslims who are partially responsible in the Sudan. I struggle with it in Yemen. I struggle with this. I'm going to be quiet because I struggle with this.
One humanity.
One humanity is very important. There are 190 conflicts in the world today as we have this conversation, and the media very rarely shows even a fraction of those conflicts. What bothers me is the core. I understand mothers cry for their child coming home, or fathers flee and exhilaration to see their child return. But I was looking for a Palestinian mother embracing their son or daughter. Some
Yeah,
of them were
yeah,
released. I was looking for that human
yeah.
perspective on their reuniting with each other. I saw a little blurb, but nothing to the extent of the humanization given to the other group.
That's
And
right.
every human being's life is sacred. Every human being is born with dignity and honor. So don't play that game in the media like one, as our sister just said, is more important than the other. And I think those of us that are conscious, we see that. And if, inshallah, we'll put our elbow to the wheel, as they say, to make every human life sacred again in the eyes of our political leaders, inshallah. We know we can use this whole period just to discuss this one issue. Is that sensitive and important?
We have one hand, sir. We have one hand. We have one hand.
Yes. Yeah,
Sister
one hand,
Manira.
okay.
Manira, you want to unmute yourself?
Assalamu alaikum to everyone.
Walaikum assalam.
I couldn't say what I want to say in one word. It has to be two words. And that is moral courage.
Mm.
Moral courage. I see so many people that seem to be bending their beliefs around politics and saying and doing, it seems, what's politically advantageous, but not morally advantageous. And so that so that we aren't swayed by these winds of change which are working against humanity, that we are morally courageous, or we become morally courageous. So I'll stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, let me just say this. I agree with you, but most of these people are not electing moral leaders, right? So it would be different if we were electing moral leaders, or they have their morality is steeped in something that looks like.
While you're looking for your book of scripture, someone, I think it was on Weekend Primetime on MSNBC. I was trying to get, I was adjusting the TV setting, and they talked about a reporter asked Trump, do you think you'll get to heaven because of this peace treaty or whatever? And he said, I mean, even if I thought it, I don't think I would be dumb enough to say it. Oh, I don't think I'll get to heaven. You know, I could, but I don't think that I would. You know, it was just a lot. These types of situations will cause us to reveal ourselves, in the true self that's inside that we don't want anybody to see. These types of situations cause us to reveal ourselves. And then one commentator, I like Antonia, I think it's her name. She said, "Well, they should put that on the last page of the Bibles that he's hawking." This quote from him: "I don't think I'll ever make it to heaven." So, um, I just wanted to
This
put that in there.
this is the
Oh,
church of God that
100.
they worship. This is the church of God that they worship.
Okay. Go ahead
This
and
is the
flash that
church of
100.
God. This is the church of God that they worship. And so this is the morality that they're steeped in right here. These.
Mhm.
And so I think that when we're talking about, we have to do better. We collectively, we have to do better in vetting who is elected. We're not electing a bunch of Muslims and Christians and Jews and Buddhists who are steeped in moral values. We're not. And we have to be honest with ourselves when we are listening to people. We listen to people who are charismatic, who say a lot, who talk a lot and say little, who are tall men with little character, who, we have a lot of phones, a lot of computers, and a lot of iPads and no communication. I said the other day, I was giving a speech, I said we can split atoms, but we can't parse our prejudices. We have a lot of possessions and no value. We are long on quantity and short on quality. Like I said, you got tall human beings and you got short character. So, all these people care about generating short profits and shallow relationships. So you can we people talk too much and they don't listen, or they listen without hearing. You, all of us, we've been taught, even our children, they've been taught how to. I listened this morning on KQED, they were talking about 996. 996 is working nine out from 9 to 9 for 6 days a week. And anybody's worked in a law firm, Sister Amatullah, myself, anybody who's worked in Silicon Valley, myself, I worked that schedule instead of 8, 5, 5. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, or 5 days a week. No, they're going back to that grind. So we've been taught how to make a living, but not how to live. They've added more years to life. More people are living 90, 100 something years, but they're not adding life to our years. We'll travel across the world, but we won't go meet our neighbors. Right? We'll clean up, and I'm saying this as an environmental scientist, we'll clean up toxic air and toxic water and even clean up our food. But guess what we won't do? Our souls are still polluted. So you can keep working hard and accomplishing less, or we can learn how to look at the people behind the words. And that's the problem that we have. We live in this world where we care about what appearance is. And a lot of us made that mistake. Well, at least look good trying. Fake it till you make it. Right? And it matters more than the substance. We care about titles more than actions, the pretense more than the purpose. We 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 don't, you know, we don't look at character. And I don't mean what people tell you they are. I mean what they show you they are. This man showed us back when he was the president the first time that people didn't listen. And I don't mean just other people. It was the Muslims who didn't listen. I heard Muslims saying, well, we survived it the first time. We'll survive him again. It was Muslims who said that. My grandmother said, a hard head make a soft behind. It was Muslims who listened to this man say, oh, I'm going to squash that Middle East thing in first, as soon as I get to office. Oh, I got Putin in my back pocket. I'm going to stop what's happening in Ukraine. Popping his collar. Look what's happening. We almost a year into his presidency. 2 months shy. And they done wiped out a couple of more generations. Not just in Gaza, Yemen, Sudan, Congo. He done started new wars in South America. So it's not whether or not people don't get into office. I'm elected. Fleming's been elected or appointed. Come on. You don't get into office and all of a sudden become corrupt. My grandmother used to say it like a person who drinks too much or take drugs. You don't all of a sudden start speaking your mind when you're drunk. It was already on your mind. You just got the courage. Like sister, was that you sister Naira said, get some courage. You either had the courage before you got into office or you don't. You just all of a sudden, and now the political will, the political courage is there. You just have the means, the opportunity to bring it forth. When you have that level of influence or power. And we as an ummah, and I don't mean just Muslims, that interfaith ummah, people of faith, have a certain level of courage, because going back to that quote from A.G. James, fear and faith can't live together. And if you're a true person of faith, you walk around, and I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to put myself on mute. I walk around with this. I love it. And my daughter found them. Says, fearless mama. You walk around with that fear because you know you're protected. You have that hedge over you. And so you're going to do the right thing, even if it's just you who stands alone. But we need more of us. We need more Flemings. We need more Sister Amatullahs. We need more of us. We can't do it. But we can't be sitting here. We need more Sister Latifas, more Brother Andre Carsons, more Sister
Ilhan,
yeah,
Rashida.
Ilhan's Sister Rashida. Oh, she was on fire this weekend, I got to tell you. Sister Rashida. But we need some of us, and we got to be strategic. We can't be out there telling all our business on press conferences and on CNN and MSNBC. Can't be putting targets on yourself. You got to learn how to move strategically, stealthily in the dark. We need more of us on local and city and state and federal levels. We have to do the work. We do. Nobody coming to rescue us. Brother Muhammad, I see your hand is up. And then Sister Amatullah is also, her hand is up too. I'm putting myself on mute, but Sister Alaji-Sabrie, you can call on them, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Okay.
Is Fred on the line too, Sister Cheryl?
Yes, he is.
Is Fred there? He's still there? Fred Lewis? All right.
Yes, he is.
Let's take these 2 comments, and then we're going to move on to our program for today, please.
Go ahead, Muhammad.
Oh, yes. It may be my last opportunity to say anything. And that is, I'm going to go with what Imam W. Muhammad said. He's telling about Pharaoh. Hitler was found under bed, hiding. Have y'all ever heard Imam speak on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go ahead.
Hitler was found under bed, hiding. And that's where we are right now. What's his name? Trump has gone all the way. He can't turn back now. If he turned back now, well, maybe I better not say that. I just what Cheryl just said. You have to be strategic in what you say and what you do at this point. So I think I'll just end it right there. Just what the Imam said about Pharaoh was found under bed hiding.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Muhammad, for your comment.
You're welcome.
Amatullah Umrani.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. I'll be brief.
Walaikum assalam.
respect to the guests. I just want to highlight that it was President 45 under the first administration that um, caused the situation to be worse over there when he moved the embassy, the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And so I won't go into all the details, but that caused a lot of problems. And then so October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened partly, in my opinion, based upon that action also. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Amatullah, for
Thank
reminding.
you. Yes.
And so, Brother Fleming, it's to you. You want to
All
bring
right.
out Brother Fred?
Well, thank you very much. I want to sort of recap our ice-breaking comments as well with this statement, basically. You know, we all should stay as informed as we can, stay engaged as much as you can, and be vigilant in your position to make this place better. Don't just be satisfied with what it is, imagine what it can be, and then work toward that goal. A couple of things very quickly. You know, the American Coalition for Good Government has always promoted a four-step process to get things done in the political arena. What are those four steps? Organize yourselves with other people. Come up with a strategic plan. Implement that plan, and then evaluate your progress in implementing that plan, and then change it if necessary. So we're going to bring on someone who has spent a lifetime organizing, strategizing, implementing, and evaluating processes to influence local government and in some cases state government as well as federal. I worked with Fred Lewis for some time here in Forsyth County, Winston-Salem, but he also spent some time in Texas and other states doing something very similar and working with local communities on issues that he considered very germane. Today, he's going to address us on the issue of this whole affordable health care issue being impacted by this most recent budget passed by Congress, and it's trying to get passed now, but it's been held up because of health care. He'll also give us his insights on not just healthcare, but also Medicare and its negative impact on so many people in this country. And keep in mind, brothers and sisters, this is a 10-year plan. Don't get caught up in the short-term perspective. This is a 10-year impact on your lives. So let's get some insights at this point on our special guest, Mr. Fred Lewis. Fred, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear
All
me?
right. Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can.
Welcome to MAP5, and we thank you for your time this afternoon. And we're going to let you to introduce yourself as you like to, and then I may have a few questions for you after you make your presentation, and then we'll open up to the audience.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for having me. I've been a public interest lawyer mostly in Texas until I moved to North Carolina recently for 40 years. And at times over those 40 years, I've worked on health insurance coverage. And it is very important to people and for their well-being and their families' well-being to have health insurance coverage. And it is at the center of our public policy debate right now with the shutdown. And I was listening to y'all, and I want to say, although there's a part of it that's grim, I see hope. And I also see an opportunity, a strategic opportunity. And they don't come around that often. So I think when they do, you need to seize them. And what I'm going to talk about is how the president and the Republicans letting the enhanced premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act expire at the end of this year is going to cause chaos in our healthcare system. And the thing that makes it an opportunity is that this program and these tax credits help a lot of people, working class and middle class of all races and hues, and it happens to be very popular across the ideological spectrum. And one of the reasons I'm talking about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, instead of Medicaid, there have been and will be $911 billion of Medicaid cuts. That passed in the one big, beautiful bill, if you want to call it that, over 10 years. Is that those cuts to Medicaid have been delayed until after the November 2026 election. And they're going to not be as much in the beginning few years, and then they're going to gradually go up. And as a result, people really aren't going to see the effect on their lives and the Medicaid cuts immediately. People are going to see the effects of the Affordable Care Act premium tax credit expiring immediately. So, for example, today, as we speak, people should be getting notices
Notices.
from the government, whether the federal exchange or state exchanges, that this week that they need to go and enroll November 1st and that their premiums are going to be going up. I don't know how specific many of them are going to be, but when people finally go on the insurance exchange and enroll, they're going to find out that because of various things, on average in the United States, for some people, it's going to be higher, mainly the elderly and low-income people. But on average, their Affordable Care Act premiums are going up 114%. That is going to be a catastrophe financially for middle class and working class families. And many of them are going to drop out, which is going to affect the rest of our healthcare system. So I want to back up a little bit. When President Obama passed the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, it had two parts of it that were intended to make access available to poor, working class, and more middle class people. And one was Medicaid, which they expanded, and now 20 additional million people on Medicaid. It is the largest health insurance program in the United States, 80 to 82 million people on Medicaid, and more people benefit from it. It is the backbone of our healthcare system for those that are not on Medicare or an employer plan. The second component of the Affordable Care Act that mattered is if you're not on Medicare like me, because you're 65 and over, and you're not on Medicaid in the expansion because you're poor, and you don't have a policy from your employer, you have to get an individual policy. And that market was not working well, and people couldn't afford it. So, what the health insurance exchanges do is they require certain regulations that the policies be standardized and provide certain treatment. And then the government subsidizes those policies with tax credits, advanced tax credit on the front end, so people can afford it. And if I could, one thing people say, they say, well, why people can't just buy their own insurance? Okay. And I'll give you an example from North Carolina. The numbers are slightly different depending on the state. In North Carolina, the average median income for a family is $70,000 a year. Okay, that's the median. The average health insurance policy in North Carolina today, if you pay fully for it yourself, is $25,000 for a household. People can't afford that unless they're very, very affluent. And so the whole point of the Affordable Care Act is to provide subsidies to people based on income and some other factors so they can afford it. One of the things that Joe Biden did that he got very little credit because he was not a very good communicator is in 2021, during the pandemic, they expanded or enhanced the premium tax credit. And so for 5 years, we've had additional subsidies to subsidize people more generously. Well, the value of that is that we've gone from 11 million people in the Affordable Care Act to 24 million people. We have doubled the people above Medicaid. They're above the federal poverty level of 138%, and don't have employer insurance. And now lots and lots of people have the ability to get health coverage. And that's working class people, modest income, and even middle class people. So because of the Affordable Care Act, And don't get me wrong, we can argue about its problems, and some of us want a more robust system, but it is what we have now, and it is the system under attack. Um, because of the Affordable Care Act, the number of people that are uninsured has gone from 15 to 16% in the United States to 7 or 8. It has been really the largest change in federal health care since Medicaid and Medicare 60 years ago. And the thing about it is, y'all know this, if you don't have health coverage, you either delay coverage, don't get treated, don't get diagnosis, and you end up delaying things till you get in the emergency room when it may be too late. You may not have access to the treatment you exactly needed. So the conservative estimate is that if the Medicaid and ACA cuts happen, 50,000 Americans will die prematurely. And that's not counting people who suffer when they don't need to, suffer longer, lack productivity, can't work as much for their families and our society. So this is the Affordable Care Act is a really big deal, these premium credits. The Republicans could have passed the premium tax credit enhancement, the extension, with the one big beautiful bill in July. They refused to. So they passed $4 trillion in tax cuts for corporations and mainly the affluent, although everybody gets a little bit. They could have passed the tax credits. It's $35 billion a year out of a $7 trillion budget. $350 billion out of a $4 trillion tax cut, and people could have continued with the Affordable Care Act coverage. So the Democrats decided to fight. And they decided to fight mainly over the Affordable Care Act. And I think they did that instead of Medicaid for a lot of reasons, but I think mainly because the pain is immediate. People are going to find out their bills are 200% more, 75% more, 500% for some people. And they're going to be really unhappy. They're either going to have really financial struggles to pay for it, or they're going to drop out. And the estimate is 4 million people over time will drop out of the Affordable Care Act. And that's going to have all sorts of negative repercussions to everybody. Rural and small hospitals and clinics are going to have a hard time staying open. These costs are going to end up being passed along to the rest of society. So to me, this is the type of thing that matters to human beings. It's a moral issue to me as well as an economic issue. And frankly, it should bring Americans together because, frankly, we all get sick and we all die and we all can suffer. And none of us should want anyone to die unnecessarily or suffer unnecessarily. So that's what the fight is in Congress over the budget. And the reason I think it's strategic is whatever people's ideology, their race, their income, the American people overwhelmingly support health coverage subsidies and the Affordable Care Act, despite all the Obama maligning and all that. Don't, by the way, call it Obamacare. The support for it drops about 30%. That's how irrational it is, even though it's the Affordable Care Act. But the bottom line is we're the only wealthy country in the world that does not have universal health coverage, which is a disgrace and is cruel. And second of all, the Republicans have no plan B. The Affordable Care Act is a very conservative private sector approach. Basically, it's the Affordable Care Act right now, or not coverage for about 16 million people through Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. And I'll sum it up this way. The reason is an opportunity is that Trump and the Republicans are messing, the very right-wing Republicans, some of the Republicans get this, are messing with something that really matters to people's lives and something that they support. And so I'm hoping we can get people to focus on it and realize what's really at stake so that we have a better future. I want to say this, if we can make the American people get engaged on this issue and fight over it and support keeping these programs, the Congress and the president will learn a lesson that they can't mess with these things. And maybe we can actually start to improve them and make them better and broader in the future. So that's my hope. And with that, I'll stop.
Well, thank you very much, Fred. Those are very insightful statistics, and the passion you have for this is quite evident. I had one question for you, Fred. How do we get this narrative out to the public? This is one vehicle, MAP5. What do you suggest we do with the broader media? Because these facts are critical for people to really understand the impact it's going to have this month. In fact, I've gotten some calls already about letters some of my relatives have received. And so it's so very important that they see the magnitude of it and take it outside of their personal homes. That's a tremendous statistic to say that many people will not even be able to afford their health care literally by the end of this year at the very least, and some even before that. So how do we get this message out? What do you recommend that we do?
Well, I recommend keeping the message very simple because healthcare is very complicated, which is one of the reasons they can mess with it so much. Okay. And the simple message is because the premium tax credits were allowed or being allowed to expire, premiums are going up on the Affordable Care Act 114% on average. And Americans can't afford that, and millions are going to drop out. And so you need to call your congressman and influential leaders and tell them they need to extend the premium tax credit enhancement. And just stick with the fact that it's going to hurt everybody. Because it is. It will end up even hurting people with health insurance. Okay, because the costs are going to get passed along. So basically, it's look, this is real. In 2 weeks, people are going to go in line to re-enroll in the Affordable Care Act to enroll, and they're going to find out the premium's gone up on average 114%. And they need, we need to support continuing the program and the tax credits so that we don't have a healthcare catastrophe and we don't have tens of thousands of Americans die prematurely, whatever their race, income, or whatever, because we're a better society, hopefully, than that. That's,
Okay.
I think it's focus on they're going up 114% because if it bothers people, the price of eggs doubles. It should bother them a heck of a lot that the price of their health insurance is doubling. And the truth is, we don't even know, Fleming, how many people are going to drop out because it depends on they have to make a judgment. Okay, how do I pay for my health insurance with my limited income? And some of them are going to say, I'm young and healthy, I drop out. Some are saying, I can't afford it no matter what. And others are going to decide to pay a burden they really shouldn't have to pay.
Okay.
But I guess the bottom line, Fleming, is if you want to have a country where people live together and understand that they're part of a community, the two things that should do it are education and healthcare. And healthcare has to be something that everybody has and that everybody has access to good healthcare. And it is one of those issues. The American people don't understand all the ins and outs, but they do understand the importance of everybody having healthcare. Okay? They get it.
Yes. Well, Fred, I'm going to ask you a question. I hear a lot of these Republican pundits saying all the time concerning the government being shut down. And
Yes.
there narrative they keep repeating. Should we keep the government closed until we can agree on healthcare compromise? How do you respond to that?
Okay, and that's a good question. First of all, there's little trust among the Democrats and Republicans for obvious reasons, Trump and other things. And so the Republicans are asking the Democrats to agree to end the shutdown, and then they'll negotiate on the Affordable Care Act. Well, that isn't the way negotiations work. You don't give up your entire leverage. It's not very difficult if you want a result. You sit down and you say, okay, how many years will you extend the enhanced premium tax credits? The Democrats are asking for 10 years. And some Republicans have said 1 year. And you say, okay, how many are in? You work it out. 3 years, 5 years. I'd like 10 years. I'd like it to be permanent, but you get something. But you don't tell people trust us in the environment we live in with the president and his word. The other thing, Fleming, is they have to do it now. The enrollment, people are already planning their enrollment today. It's 2 weeks away. Every day they delay, there's more chaos because people are going to go on the website and find out the premiums are up 114%. A lot of them are never going back. So every day they delay is a problem. And so one of the reasons the Democrats want it done now, and some of the Republicans, is because if we delay to address it into late November or December, we are going to have utter chaos. So it's a pretty bad faith position, to be candid. It's like saying, you give me what I want and then I'll negotiate with you. I as a lawyer, I can tell you, I wouldn't, that is not a very good negotiating offer to somebody.
Well, Fred, you and I can talk all the time because we do work on several committees together. Let's open it up to those that might have a question, starting with our host, and then we'll go to the broader community. Any questions from our immediate host to Fred?
Fred, I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you perhaps, I don't know if in your research, do you have maybe 5 congressional and 5 senators that we should target to get them to switch their position? Because I mean, leading up to the shutdown, I followed where he talked about how rural communities would be greatly impacted. The rural hospitals will suffer. They'll have to shut down. People will have to drive 2 hours to get to a hospital. Um,
Mhm.
and yet, the representatives from some of those areas went along with the big, ugly bill. So do you have specific names we can target to call people to do a call to action to cause them to change their positions during the shutdown period so that
I
this
don't
can
have
happen?
specific names, but I'm going to give you a way of doing it. First, if your congressman or nearby congressman or woman or senator you think is likely to cave, then you need to call and make sure that they stand tall. Okay? Because they're trying to pick off, 5 or 6 Democrats. And the heat's going to get really big when more and more people get laid off or fired. The second thing is every situation's different. And what I would do is I'd look at congressmen and women who are near me, maybe don't represent me, who I think have political vulnerabilities. If they're in a district where it doesn't matter what they do, uh, you know, I wouldn't worry about them, okay? But if they're in a district where there's actually some competition, I'd call them and say, this matters to me. And the reason I say that is we know that there are Republican pollsters have told the Republicans they have problems with this, with their constituents, Republican and unaffiliated constituents. And So the more people talk about it, the more they call them, the more it's out in the news, the more pressure it is on them to fold. I just can't say, like, for example, we have a congressman, Fleming and I do. I wouldn't call him. There's no point, okay? But there are people you could call in North Carolina. There is a point in calling them. But our congressman, he's uh, he's way out there. Let's just put it that way. Is that unfair, Fleming? Am I unfair?
You can include Virginia Fox in that category too.
Well, both of
But
them
we'll
are
move on.
okay. So,
All right,
but there are a
there are,
couple of
yes.
Republican congressmen and women you can
There
call,
is.
and
Oh,
both of
yes.
our senators can be moved because a lot of rural North Carolina is on the Affordable Care Act.
Does that answer your question, Sister Amatullah?
Yeah, it's a start. It's a start.
Okay. Okay.
I like the part about if not your representative, someone who is close to you. That's good. I think that's a good strategy to use.
Because I don't, the politics of each district and how vulnerable they are and how moderate they are or how friendly they are to healthcare, I just don't know. And so it's one of those sort of balancing acts you have to do. But the most important thing is just keep putting heat on people because the Republicans are very vulnerable on this issue and they know it.
Right. Right.
And I think to stress to people that they've set it up so that you may not feel the greater harm until after they get through the midterms. You know,
Okay.
to
That
let
is a
people know
problem
that.
in a society where we're in denial. Okay. So that's why I say the ACA, the pain is almost right there. Okay. We're 2 weeks away. And for people who are paying attention on the ACA, the pain is immediate. Okay. Right now, if they're paying attention, they know their premiums are going up. That is a lot easier to deal with people's resistance than Medicaid, which the cuts aren't going to happen for a year and a half. And they'll say things like, but the president told us they're not going to be cut. And you say, well, they're cutting $911 billion. That can't not hurt people. And they'll say, well, the president says it won't. It's just a bunch of people that are ne'er-do-wells. There's no pain. And so it's very difficult to convince them. So my thought is, make them focus on something where you can't deny the effect on people now. And then next year, after they've seen whatever happens on the ACA, we can talk to them about the Medicaid cuts. But I've been doing some social media. There is a lot of denial in rural and other areas about the Medicaid cuts. And I just don't know what to do with the denial other than to focus on something where you can't deny reality.
Okay.
Does
That's
that
good.
make sense? Because the
That
ACA,
makes sense strategically, but that makes sense strategically. Yeah, because people usually just follow the news cycle and the midterms are far further off. But I think that also speaks to the need for us to all become more educated in the area of healthcare and healthcare costs.
I agree with you completely. And Medicaid is a huge issue. But the problem is we have a lot of people who there's disinformation. There's so many outrages they can't focus. They say, well, where are the cuts to Medicaid? Well, they're going to come. Okay. This is going to be like you go to the grocery store, you go to the Affordable Care Act, and you go, oh my God, my premiums have just gone off the roof. I
Yeah,
mean, it's hard to deny there's a problem going on.
exactly, exactly. And people are going
But
to be getting their open enrollment notices, so
Yeah, that's
um,
but it's
Is
not
that
just it's not just disinformation or misinformation is done on purpose, especially with Medicaid, is done on purpose to be after the midterms, because as soon as they get away, right? As soon as they get away, it's going to flip. It's going to flip right after the midterms. It's going to flip before the January, where people are not only going to see the changes in Medicaid, they're going to see that their their parents who are in senior facilities is not going to be paid for, right?
No, you're right.
And their medications are going to go from $100 to $900. So it's purposely done after the midterms. So he's not just doing it on news. He's going to these areas and saying it out of his mouth, like, the old school, the revival tents guy, right? The old school uh,
Evangelist.
um yeah, this the evangelist. He's pitching it that way. I'm gonna tell you truth. I was like, 47 gonna make me like Marjorie Taylor Greene. How is this happening?
Yeah, she
How
got
is this
hit.
making me agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Something is. I had to put down my water because I had to go look at it. I
Something
was
is
in
wrong with this
DC
picture.
and I was looking at what is. I had to go and change my. I poured out the water and had to go get some more because I thought something was wrong with when they I had to go and instead of having the regular water bottle, I had to go and get a clear water bottle so I could see what was in it, make sure they weren't like poisoning my water. Cause I said something, I need a clear one. Cause I said, why am I and Marjorie Taylor Greene on the same
I,
same
I'll,
pathway?
I'll
But
I'll tell you why, because
a clock is right twice a day.
right, but here I'll tell you what it's actually indicative of what's going on. Look, I don't agree with her on anything, okay? Very few things, but she's hearing from her constituents. And she's a grassroots person, and she's going, my constituents can't pay more. And that's why I know we're on good grounds, okay? Because it's people, it cuts across a lot of these barriers. And let me say something. You are absolutely right. It's intentional. There's lying. Let me just say it bluntly. And let me get to the biggest lie that there are undocumented workers or if you illegal aliens on Medicaid and the affordable never have been, isn't true. The only thing the federal government does is based on a 40-year-old law that Ronald Reagan signed. If you go into an emergency room in the United States, we will treat you. We don't ask if you're from Mars. We don't ask where you're from. And I don't even think the cruelest people in the United States are going to say, we just let you die.
Right,
Okay. That's it. And whether we
right.
rightly or wrongly should cover uh, uh, immigrants, legal or illegal, that is just a complete red herring. And the
It is.
reason they
It
say a
is.
complete lie, that's obviously a lie, is because they know their position's weak with the public.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
lying, I was
Eh,
just being nice. You were more accurate about it. It
yeah,
was an intentional lie,
say,
okay?
I say, call a thing a thing. Call a thing, a lie, and it is what it is. Sister Amrani, I see your hand is up. And before you say, I'm just gonna say to Brother Fleming and to Mr. Lewis, listen, I'm in the burning down camp. And anybody I see even looking like they waver, I'm gonna tell them, I want you to play this back. I keep a fire starter in my purse and a lighter. Barney Dawn, you better not. You better not fold. I will find you, especially because you know you have to run for re-election. I don't care. Don't use that term moderate. I'm not even a liberal.
I
I'm not.
understand.
I'm not a liberal, but I don't believe that you better not cave. You better not cave because like an old boyfriend when he say, give me this and I will give you something else, you lie. You lie. My grandmother told me, don't give him nothing on a promise. You lie. You lie. So
Oh,
no,
man.
Boyfriends like
he don't
politicians.
marry you. He don't marry you, give him nothing. So so I don't
Oh,
believe a
man.
liar.
Mm,
They've shown they lie. So
mm.
these whole smoke and mirrors about, well, you give it to us now. We'll come back in December, January. We'll talk about it then. No, you talk about it now.
Of
You
course.
don't give it to me in writing.
Yeah,
If it ain't in
yeah.
writing, my legal attorney told me the same thing. If it ain't in writing, it don't exist.
Well, it may not
Great.
even be worth anything if they put it in writing and pass it.
Yeah,
Okay,
they gave
so
us they
I
gave us
mean,
they gave us money. They gave us money, they gave us grants, they gave us appropriations, and what did they do? They snatch it back. So I don't trust
Well,
you. So yeah, nah. Sister Ronnie's hand is up, sir.
Mr. Ronnie, please.
Presentation. My question has to do with the younger people who are, let's say, in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s, who are self-employed, entrepreneurs, etc. Would you
Mhm.
just summarize what message I should be giving them in terms of what they are to expect and um, in regard to what you've presented to us?
sure. Um, I guess the thing to say is if you're not 65 or older, like I am, and you're not 138% of the federal poverty level or below, and you're not insured by your employer, and you have insurance or want insurance, you're getting it from the Affordable Care Act. Because
Right,
the individual policies, over 90 to 95% of them are ACA policies. And the others you don't really need to think about because they're short term and things. So the market for self-employed and people who work for small employers is going to be really devastated if this happens. First, the premiums are going to go up on average 114%. And then second, people who are healthy and younger will drop out, which means the premiums are going to go up even more next year. Um, and there's basically people between 20 and 40, they're less likely to become ill than I am. But nobody knows who's going to be ill, and they need to have health insurance. And this is the way they can get health insurance that they can afford. There is no alternative plan. Republicans have said they had an alternative plan for the Affordable Care Act since it passed in 2010. It's 15 years later. They have no plan. Their plan is to just cut the Affordable Care Act and decimate it.
okay. Yeah, and the ones that I know uh, did go to the marketplace, I guess that's what you call it, the marketplace. And they also have families.
Mhm.
That's right. And I do want to say one other thing so you can tell people 54% of the people in the Affordable Care Act, because of income and smaller employers, and are people of color. These programs, Medicaid and the ACA, are designed for poor working class and middle class people so they can have health coverage.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Fleming. I appreciate it. And thank you for your interest. Our country can do better than this.
May I ask
Yes, we can.
one additional question, Fleming?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Go ahead.
Fred, I know it's a difficult question, but do you have any stats on the average premium cost right now? Say, for example, if I wanted to do a flyer and say, your premium is probably 250 a month or 300 a month. With what is coming down in November, you'll be paying 675 or 720.
Well, I can give you an answer, but you're going to have to fill in the blanks. But you
Okay.
will get the answer, okay? The best source of information, and I've used this information because it's conservative and everybody relies on it. Because if the situation's bad enough without exaggerating, okay, is the Kaiser Family Foundation, kff.org. They have a calculator on the website where you can run numbers for your family in your situation, and it will tell you exactly how much the premiums are going up. So what I do here, when I go out to like rural counties outside here, I run the numbers for that rural county for a couple of different fact patterns. Like one, I'll pick a single male, a single person, $30,000 a year. And then I'll pick a family of four with children, two children, at 70,000. And I show them how much the premiums go up. And then I say, well, it varies based on all these things, but this is sort of what it looks like. And the numbers are horrible, okay? And they
Okay.
look at it and they go, oh my God, And so go to kff.org and they have a calculator and they also have some data by states on averages in the states because it varies depending on the situation. But the calculator is something I use to get people to believe that no, there is a real problem. There is a real number, and your premiums, let's say you're paying 150, now you're paying 400 a month. Are you going to be able to afford that?
Okay.
What are you going to do? Because you better figure out something in a hurry.
Okay.
And so I call it protecting your family.
Okay.
But yes, the numbers are all out there. And let me say this, they don't dispute the numbers because you can't dispute them. They can talk about illegal aliens, but they can't dispute the numbers. Okay. And that's why, of course, they talk about illegal aliens because the numbers are indisputable. And there's a formula.
Okay.
And honestly, for some people, they're really, really grim. Like some people, it's over 580% premium increases, particularly low income people. So it isn't pretty for anybody. I hope that helps. And thank you for having me. And thank you for caring. And one humanity is a message I hope we can all live by.
Yes.
That's right. Thank you very
Definitely.
much, Fred. I was going to curve you to survey the audience. Any other questions, real quick, you'd like to ask Fred Lewis before he leaves the program? And other hands are raised. Let me just check. I
I
don't
don't see
see
any.
don't
I
see
don't
any
see
hands
any.
raised.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate your attention. It's complicated, but boy, does it matter to people's lives.
Yes, it does,
Thank you
Fred.
so much.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
man.
you. Thank you
Thank
for the
y'all.
work that you
Take,
continue to do, Fred.
oh, it's
Yeah.
a pleasure to work on it, I promise. Take care. Thanks.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Fred. And I should have mentioned this to the Honorable Cheryl. His wife is the president of Piedmont Environmental Justice Act here in Forsyth County, and she leads Earth Day. She's a very strong advocate. I worked with her a long time ago with separation of church and state issues, Americans United. She's a she's like you, dedicated to environmental justice work and saving
Something
the,
about something about those science labs.
Yeah, we have
yes,
one
yes, it's something
personality.
about
We only have one personality.
love her to death, and I love you too. All right, let's see. We have any issues we want to bring up to our audience. One thing I want to say very quickly, because I said to all the people I try to influence who even get involved in politics, I asked them have they read the book The Prince, and I do that because it gives you an idea of what the thinking was then, and it goes back to Machiavelli a long time ago. He was trying to give instructions on these so-called royal rulers how to govern their kingdoms. And so that book gives you a premise to say the ends justify the means. Let me say it again. That's the whole foundational thesis that says the ends justifies the means. That's not a principle of people of faith. I'll hold and pause right there. But if you haven't had a chance, those that want to go into this area called politics, take the time to read The Prince, and you'll see where a lot of this insanity you see in the environment today comes from, where it originated from. And that's the thinking in that book primarily, that whatever your end objective is, it doesn't really matter how you get there, basically. And we know that's an insult to your intelligence, a great degree. And it's an insult to people of faith in particular. Okay. There's much more that I can say, but I'm going to pause right there. All right. Yes, Sis Amatullah.
Yeah, I just want to once again encourage people to visit masjidalwarithin.org website and the tab for Year of the Quran, to go to that and look at some of the videos from the Fajr Halakha. And I would say in the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe in the last 3 weeks, so much of what Imam Fahim Shuaib and Dr. Zaid Abdul Karim have shared from the study of looking at the 18th surah of the Quran, Surah Kahf, you can see the application from the language of Imam Muhammad and other scholars in the Deen regarding that particular chapter and the points that these two brothers share with us. So much of it overlays what we are experiencing now in the world and in this country in particular with the corrupt leadership that we have, corrupt political leadership, and leadership in other areas. Just look at the four birds: education, culture, economics, and governance. It's just inspiring to see what Allah has blessed these two brothers to be able to mine out of the ayah, and also I believe to help us in developing. Michael Hameen, he mentioned over a month or so ago, what strategies, what solutions are we going to try to find? I think that there's so much in what these brothers have presented that can help us to really craft strategies and solutions that we can use on the local and eventually on the national level. So I encourage people to visit that website, masjidalwarithen.org, and you'll go to they're uploaded to the YouTube channel. And those who aspire to be leaders in this community, if you look at the presentation, it may not be up until a couple of days, that Dr. Zaid gave today on, I don't even know what the title was because I got into the halakha after it had started. I missed about the first 15 minutes or so. But the time after that, I told Imam Fahim and the brothers and sisters in the Zoom, the emoji that has the face and the head is cut in half, and you can just see things shooting out of that head. Mm-hmm. That's the way I felt this morning. I mean, they hit on so many things in terms of leadership and bringing clarity out of chaos, and it was just we have so much in our community that we need to harness. And focus was one of the things that Brother Dr. Zaid talked about this morning.
Yes.
We can just focus on the right things. We can develop the strategy and the solution to, if we don't resist completely what's going on, we can at least mitigate it so that we lessen the harm that individuals in our community feel. And I think we're going to have to develop, when we talk about one humanity, I believe we're going to have to develop the compassion in our hearts and expand our hearts so that we're going to have to share. We're just going to have to share because we can't have our brothers and sisters out on the street. We can't have them the children hungry. We can't have, I mean, if you got a pot of beans, you're going to have to be willing to share some of those beans with your neighbor. You know, whether your neighbor knows how to say assalamu alaikum or not. I mean, the time and the situation, I just believe, is going to demand that of us. And I believe we have to start to condition ourselves now that it
Can I
might
add?
get worse. It might get worse before it gets better. And we have to steel ourselves. I think about the Ansars when the Hijra occurred and the degree that they shared. If I had two camel, you got a camel. If I had, two gardens, you got a garden. You know, they were willing to just go to the limit to support and sustain the community that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was establishing.
Can I add to that,
You
Shella?
most certainly can. Sister
All right.
Takeda
I
attends
agree.
Hanukkah also.
Yes, and I agree with her in terms of the gift and the blessings that the Hanukkah offers. And just one aspect that I got from this morning, and on terms of real life gift applications. You talked about cultivate your inner leadership, self control, honesty, patience, even unseen. Leadership starts with moral consistency. We talked about that earlier. Then we look at the family, discuss current events with Quranic ethics at the table, train children to measure leadership by values and not charisma. And then it's another one I can't see. Community support Muslim civic education, as you've been talking about, programs and interfaith justice coalitions that nurture ethnic voices, and nationally vote, advocate, speak up for moral reform, not just partisan loyalty, but Quranic integrity. And then the global join our or support humanitarian and peace building movements to show righteous leadership, and more that we learn. And it gave us like Quranic verses and hadith, those who, if we give them authority in the land, establish prayer, give zakat, and enjoin what is right, forbid what is wrong or what is evil. So on and on and on. So yes, Sister Mata, I agree. It's such a valuable opportunity that we learning from in the mornings.
And anyone can join, just go to the website. And even if you can't come because it's because of the prayer time change, it's at 6:30 our time, Pacific time. So if you're at your job, and you can't participate, or if you're in class, the website is there. You can always go back to listen. And I'm going to suggest to my co-host, I mean, my brain has just been on fire. I'm going to suggest to my co-host that MAP5 sponsors some kind of forum or workshop or some kind of event where we look at some of these concepts that have been given to us, and you may have other sources too, but that we come together, we look at the best commentary, knowledge, insight that we have um, in the world. Rabbi Alamin, all the systems of knowledge, masters of all the system of knowledge, whether it's from our community or from other sources, that we look at it and look at how we can put together these things to fashion to create the solutions and the strategies that we need to develop, inshallah. So Cheryl and Fleming, I'm going to be sharing some of my craziness with you, and you can tell me yay or nay. But Allah has put in me that I got to move forward with this, inshallah.
Let me correct one thing. It's not your craziness, it's your insights. And for one, I appreciate it very much. And inshallah, we can have either one of those brothers on this program specifically to discuss just that.
Yeah,
And inshallah, we can plan that in the very near future. Just
inshallah.
very quickly, then we'll bring our Honorable Cheryl on. I do a lot of interfaith work, and I always remind the group that, we've come from a culture of a man who was boycotted by his whole community for 3 years to the degree that he lost his first wife. and other family friends and could not trade with his own community for 3 years. And many of them suffered. Of course, that person being Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and all of his family, but they endured that because they had the principle of faith that they would not shake. But when he returned back to Mecca, did he go out looking for people cause that harm to him? No. He said, we'll not seek blood, ritual, revenge. As long as you don't break the peace, everything is forgiven, basically. Now, that's a unanimous example of what we should be doing when it comes to leadership to a great degree. We have to be willing to absorb the resistance, and it's going to be resistance. Whenever you stand up on principle, you're going to run into some resistance. I'm going to share this real quick, and I'm going to try to make it less than 30 seconds. When I first ran for county commissioner in Forsyth County, the first Muslim to do so, I think that first year, in fact, I know, my students supplied 90% of the funds that I used in that campaign. I might have gotten $150 from Muslims. Can I be very frank?
Yes.
I got a whole lot of assalamu alaikums, but only $150. Now, why am I saying that? When we give our word on something, we used to say our word is our bond, and I will, perish basically before I let my bond fail, And we used to say, if I have a bowl of bean soup, half the soup belongs to you. And we used to say, I can't really be a Muslim until I love for my brother what I love for myself. That also applies to sisters as well. So we were sort of ingrained in that kind of philosophy. And the most important words we used then was simply sister and minute and brother and minute. And that sort of united us because we were passionate about defending each other in that regard. So there is hope within our example. That's the bigger point that I'm making. We have been the example. We've just got to reconnect out of nothing more or less than sincere love for each other as a community. And I end with this. I always ask these so-called scholars in theology, why is it that you can say you believe in a God that you cannot see, and you won't even help your neighbor who you see every day suffering and offer him a bowl of soup? There's an injustice element there. There's an imbalance there somewhere. And if you really get to know interfaith work, you realize the more you work with people of different faiths, the more you see really one faith, and that is to serve humanity. I may have gone over 30 seconds on that one, but I'll pause right there for the sake of time.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Sister Martha has her hand up.
Yes,
Sister
assalamu
Martha.
alaikum, everyone. And
Well,
just a
Walaikum
little bit,
assalam.
Martha Nyla, calling from St. Petersburg, Florida. Actually, I had gone to visit the President Barack Obama's namesake library, the main library here in St. Petersburg, but just to learn this holiday, right? So I'm just
Oh,
carefree on the bus system, and and that's that social networking and arena. But straight to the point of what I want to speak to is, wow. I said that and now I'm losing. Fleming, it was something into what you were saying. But, well, I'll let it go there, y'all.
it'll
73
come
to
back.
you.
Hey,
It'll come
we're
back
the
to
same
you.
It'll
age.
come
This it'll
back.
come back to
Something
you,
else
believe me.
It'll
will
come
perk
back.
you.
It will come
It'll
back.
come
Don't
back.
worry. Don't
Inshallah.
worry.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah.
Listen, from
Inshallah.
one 730 to another, it will come back. It just takes time. It
Oh, it
takes
was
time.
furlough.
See,
Furlough.
Yes, there you go.
Oh,
Furlough.
oh,
Furlough.
I
Okay,
met
okay.
someone at the library who is a contract worker for the government, and she's on furlough.
Mm.
And so I interviewed her, but it didn't stick a whole lot. I didn't want to interrupt you all with that because I was listening also to the ACA information by your respected guest. And I said,
Mhm.
so she was giving me a lot of inside information saying how it is already impacting the families of armed forces, their families. And it's impacting, going, what it is the budget
Mm.
situation. And so I saw where that is connected with the ACA, the insurance. That whole there's a whole mechanism that is being affected, but it does not should not disengage us being connected as human beings and being human, and that's what I hear. And as to Cheryl, we heard you the other week too, Honorable Cheryl Sudduth, wherein we are working on uh, getting the space and time in our whole setup of strategic planning to have the conversation behind the scene of true informational setups, I should say, being truly informed and not just AI informed. But alhamdulillah, I'll stop right there.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
one
you.
thing that Fred said that I could relate to specifically, I recall with my husband being self-employed, you know, entrepreneur, health insurance, especially when the children was born, was really something that we looked at very intensely. And Muslim brother got us on a plan with, I think it's the International Order of Odd Fellows. I believe that was they had a plan, and so we got on the plan. It was very affordable. And then one month, the premium statement came in, and it was like, I said, "Oh, well, this is a mistake. They got too many zeros, computer glitch or something." So I called the company all indignant. Boy, we got this statement, and I think somebody made a mistake in your office, and blah 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 blah. I said, okay, well, let me check. And she went and checked, and she said, oh, somebody had a birthday. And I said, yes. Oh, yeah, well, once you pass 50, the premium goes up. And that was a wake-up call for me as far as how much goes up can be. So when Brother Fred was talking about that 114% increase, I could definitely relate to that. And so later, when I was leaving the Oakland City Attorney's office, and looking for, okay, where am I going to land? Because with the California budget at that time, they were cutting back in different departments. Where am I going to land? I was looking at, okay, where is that health care? Because this boy has pulled these braces off his teeth 2 or 3 times. And this girl, she just keeps on eating candy and snacking on sweet things and had to go to the dentist 4 or 5 times. And so where am I going to get that health care benefit that suits our family situation the most? And I think people will definitely relate to that. Being on the campus too, we experience furloughs where during the winter break from December to mid-January, those 6 weeks, and the union, we fought back a lot on those furloughs because people are living from paycheck to paycheck, essentially, in many, many of the categories. And people will be surprised. This also affects people who are what they call adjunct professors on the college campuses. They're not tenured. They're people who work in the industry and they may come and teach a class on torts or insurance law or real estate law, and they don't have the same benefits that a tenured professor has. So that whole Latifah, when she was, and Cheryl, I hope you tell us about the CARE talks. The Latifah Simon, when she was talking 2 weekends ago at the Bay Area Muslim Council fundraiser, she talked about 10,000 federal workers in San Francisco Bay Area. That's a lot of people who have been laid off or who may be furloughed. The impact of the shutdown on those 10,000 families. When you say 10,000 people, you're talking about 10,000 families. Even if you're the only one in the family, that's 10,000 families. So we got our work cut out for us to, I would suggest that people take this broadcast with that information that the brother shared with us, and send it out to all your friends, families, neighbors.
Yes.
The link to this program so that people will know, push back, push back, push back. That's it from me for now.
Sure, you want to say something? I'm sure I heard your brain working over here on the East Coast.
You can hear it all the way over there, huh?
Oh, we're on the Atlantic side of the U.S. of A. Yes, that's my
What happened
sister.
with Genius? What happened with Genius? Genius just can feel the fervor.
Yeah.
Um, couple things. Let me give you a quick rundown on what happened Saturday, and then I do want to say something. It's interesting because I had something to say, and then you mentioned about leadership, and it fell right in line with this this little daily sunnah that I get and that I read every morning. And it's amazing. It's like when I was small and I show up at church, and it's like my uncle knew that I was coming, especially when I would come from college. And I didn't tell him I was coming, home for the weekend. You walk into you walk into the church, because my mom would say, well, if you're coming home for the weekend, then come to church with me. And your mom tells you come to church, so you go to church. Then I walk in and my uncle would say, the prodigal daughter has come home. And he's the pastor. My grandmother was the mother of the church. And then everybody would turn around their seat and watch you walk in, and you feel like, you get all red in the face. And then not lecture, the sermon, like, did he know I was coming? Because it's like he's talking to you directly. So this morning when I was reading the Sunnah, it felt like uh, it was made for me today, and it was made for our discussion today. So I'll tell you that in just a moment, because Fleming, you just touched on it. But very quickly, just a couple of minutes on CARE event this weekend. So the Council on American Islamic Relations, the San Francisco Bay Area, celebrated its 31st anniversary gala. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Lots of cheers and
Well,
and yeah,
alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah, they've been doing such great work. I'm gonna let me do my own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, such great work. It was a little somber because we're 2 years into this genocide that a lot of people still refuse to name it and give it, the name. The theme of the night was Speak Truth in the Face of Injustice, and how we turn that truth into actual action based on our faith. Um, we were honored to have some very esteemed speakers in Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, represented our Congresswoman Latifa Simon. Our MC was Linda Sasha, and we also had Imam Siraj Wahaj. Uh, all of them lit up the stage, of course. It was just a beautiful gathering. Dr. Hatem Bassian received the Lifetime Achievement Award. Um, his book, Erasing the Human, if you haven't read it, go out and get it, order it. I mean, besides his work as co-founder of Zaytuna College here in Berkeley, he has been a longtime professor at UC Berkeley. Um, he's the national chair of American Muslims for Palestine. He's the board chair, I believe, I think he still is, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, of Northern California Islamic Council. And he does a lot of research for Islamophobia Studies Research Association. So he totally deserves his Lifetime Achievement Award. Ramzi Kassem, who founded CLEAR, which is a creating law enforcement accountability and responsibility at CUNY, City University of New York, School of Law. He represented Mahmoud Khalil, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, and Rumisa Osturk when they were being targeted the last couple of years with this, especially last year with this administration. He received the Defender of Truth Award for pushing towards justice and just representing people case by case, person by person. And for those who haven't seen him in the news, it's because he's been doing the work behind the scenes, which is what we want. And then one of the other awards, I went to one of our local firebrands. So I'm going to describe her. Kat Brooks. She's no Muslim, but she is known locally here in the Bay Area, especially in Oakland. She hosts a program on KPFA, one of our public radio, called Law and Disorder. Kat doesn't just host a program, she interrogates whoever is on the show. She doesn't just speak truth to power, she lives it. And she learns how to turn that into change, local change. She is she's really good at amplifying other people. She opens the room for other people to speak. She is an organizer. She co-founded the Anti-Police Terror Project, APTP, that has like worked towards a lot of statewide reforms on the use of force and accountability. I've worked with her for, wow, early 2000s. And some of the work that APTP has done is not just legislative, but action-oriented, bringing the people into the work. And one of the other co-founders has even gone as far as, his wife is on the city council here in Oakland, but he teaches one of the things that I really like that he does. He teaches self-defense to women. He lives by the principles that we all live by as Muslims. And the brother teaches for free women and girls self-defense. And it's just, and she is one of those ones that with her voice, she's also an actress and a playwright here in Oakland. And she uses that platform to write stories of liberation, and whether that's the intersection of liberation between Black and brown. And she speaks the truth that the liberation of the Palestinian people, and the liberation of Black people, and the liberation of immigrants, liberation of Latinos, liberation of impoverished people are inextricably woven. And that speaks to my heart more than anything. So she was it was a well-attended event, over 1,300 people in a sold-out event in Santa Clara, and raised just about $1.3 million to help CARE do the work that it's doing, to defend.
Allahu
Yes,
Akbar.
and it was beautiful because Sister Linda, her first and only grandchild, was born the day before, and she still flew in to IPSI. And her granddaughter's name is Linda. And she was very proud to tell her, that in a time, and I have to say this, in a time where Palestinians are experiencing genocide and the whole families are getting wiped out, a little Palestinian baby girl was born. Baby girl, which is important, right? Because it can carry on, start a new generation of Palestinians. So fully Palestinian born baby girl was born, which of course got a lot of applause. And so she's hopeful that she'll be able to take this little Palestinian baby girl to Palestine to see her heritage. So a little bit of light into that. And before I tell you what I wanted to say, Brother Kareem, you had your hand up. You want to say something, and then I want to tell you guys something before we go.
Yes, praise be to Allah. I have been sharing on the AM360 Zoom site our paying attention and referencing a surah in the Quran is the 107th surah entitled Ma'un, or Neighborly Needs. I'll share the commentary of Yusuf Ali on these ayats and verses. And he says, "See thou one who denies the judgment to come, then such is the man who refuses the orphan with harshness and encourages not the feeding of the indigent. So woe to the worshipers who are neglectful of their prayers, those who want but to be seen of men, but refuse to supply even neighborly needs." Uh, we see here where it says, who are neglectful of their prayers, but it is pointing to one that wants to be seen performing the prayers. He's at every prayer. He's there. And after the ritual is complete, he thinks he has completed the prayer. No, the prayer is only signs and symbols of how to live out and carry out our life. The salat continues once you leave the masjid and you meet the neighborly needs of your neighbors and those that you are in communication with. That is something we must do. I remember I was raised up in a neighborhood. We looked out for each other. If there was a shortfall in one household, everyone came to meet that. So I'll just stop right there. But when I was presenting this, someone came on and said to cut me off, because I'm encouraging neighborly needs. Let us contribute to neighborly, our neighbor next door. It doesn't have anyone. That is the real salah. It is not the prostration and the movements that we work. Those are only symbols, signs, filled with wisdom. You have not completed your salah until you start meeting neighborly needs, the needs of humanity. I'll stop right there, myself. Thank you. And this was a wonderful broadcast. I'm glad that you had our brother Fred on. Fleming, he gave some valuable.
Thank you.
Praise be to Allah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for your comments, Imam. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu
Thank
alaikum.
you.
Walaikum assalam.
Now, don't go yet, because I have something I want to say real quick before we leave. You ready?
Yes, sir. Yes,
You
yes,
ready?
ma'am.
Okay. It's a Sunnah story, and it's about leadership. So, and Brother Fleming, you just mentioned this. So, in a beautiful pond surrounded by lily pads and tall reeds lived a cheerful community of frogs. They had no ruler, no king, and no crown. They simply lived in peace, making dicker and splashing joyfully. But one day, a young frog named Zarif puffed his chest and said, "We need a king, someone big and bold like other animals have." Some frogs agreed, others weren't so sure. But together they croaked loudly, "Oh Allah, send us a leader." The next morning, something splashed into the pond, a large log sent by the wind. Thump! The frogs leapt in fear. "Is this our king?" they whispered, hiding beneath the leaves. But after a while, they realized the log did not move. "He doesn't speak," doesn't lead, doesn't do anything, said Zarif. So they prayed again. Oh Allah, send us a stronger ruler. This time, a crane landed at the pond's edge, tall, graceful. But soon he opened his beak and snatched a frog. Panic spread throughout the pond. The frogs cried, "No more kings! We were safe before. We had no crown, but we had peace." A wise elder named Bashir calmed them. Sometimes the greatest gift is what we already had. When we are ungrateful, we ask for things not meant for us. So the frogs gathered and made sincere dua. O Allah, forgive our impatience. Help us be grateful for what you have given. And Allah answered with peace. The crane flew away, and the log floated off gently. From that day on, the frogs lived with sukkah, choosing leaders based on wisdom and kindness, not size or noise. If you are grateful, I will surely increase you. Surah 14:7. Be grateful for the peace you have. True leadership comes with wisdom, not just power. Es todo.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
You know, we must be willing to share what we have. It's one thing to have, that's fine. But the Prophet Muhammad has said, anyone that can go to bed with a stomach full and know that their neighbor is without and they don't share, they are not of us. So at this where we're at, he is the leader. We have our king, Allah. Allah is the king, and Muhammad is his messenger. If we follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad, we will fare a lot better. But we have to be willing to share with our neighbor. The Prophet Muhammad said that Allah put so much burden on him, so much obligation and responsibility toward his neighbor. The Prophet Muhammad said, I thought that he would have his neighbor inherit me. So that is what we need to do at this time, is meet the neighborly need. I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sister Amatullah, do you want to say anything for closing words?
I want to share two things. The first one is a hadith. Well, I clicked on the wrong thing. The first one is a reminder about the prayer for the Congo and also other places of conflict throughout the world. Launching that special prayer campaign, spearheaded by the Friends of the Congo. This is the flyer for it. It's starting next Sunday, October 19th. It's a special prayer moment during worship services. So if you have a halakha or a talim that your community sponsors, we ask you that while you're in Jummah, that you engage in a special prayer for a moment for the celebration and liberation of the Congo, and also for peace throughout the world. As Brother Fleming brought to our attention, there's 190 conflicts throughout the world, and the scripture says wars and rumors of wars. So I want to remind people of that. If you want more information, you can go to campaign@friendsofthecongo.org, and that's this coming Sunday, October 19th. So it'll be before our next program. And then also, and I think that it's geared towards congregational prayer, but also if you in your home with your family members make salat, you you can make your collective prayer, or if you by yourself, you can make your prayer. And then what Brother Muhammad was saying, this isn't the exact hadith of this, but it was also shared by Dr. Zaid this morning with us, which I thought was a good reminder. On the authority of Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, peace and blessings of Allah upon him, said, Allah, mighty and sublime, he said, whosoever shows enmity to someone devoted to me, I shall be at war with him. My servant draws not near to me with anything more loved by me than the religious duties I have enjoined upon him. And my servant continues to draw near to me with supererogatory works, so that I shall love him. When I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, his seeing with which he sees, his hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he walks. Were he to ask something of me, I would surely give it to him. And were he to ask me for refuge, I would surely grant him it. I do not hesitate about anything as much as I hesitate about seizing the soul of my faithful servant. He hates death and I hate hurting him. It was related by Al-Bukhari. So that hadith was a good reminder for us in our class in the Holocaust this morning. And I just thought I would share that with folks. And it fit. So remember October 19th, that prayer dhikr Allah is the greatest force. So inshallah, we hope you'll participate in that prayer for peace. And then at the end of the month, I get more excited the more I hear about the program, the 50th anniversary program that is planned in Durham.
Yeah, Brother Durham. Yes.
My mind is going with, now how am I going to get to that? But inshallah, they said that they might have a virtual, but you have to also sign up for it. So Brother Abdul Wahid, his program with the 50th anniversary celebration, we look forward to that October, I believe it's the 30th through November 2nd, inshallah.
Yes.
So that's it for me. I appreciate the prayer. Good program.
And I want to thank everybody for participating and thank all the contributors for their comments. And we use it in our program, with supplication to Almighty God Allah. This time I'd like to end it with a prayer that we learned a long time ago with your permission. And the prayer is simply this. It's a dua, really. Surely I've turned myself to thee, O Allah. Being upright to he who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death, are all for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. No associate I see in this am I commanded, and I'm of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So please grant me protection against all my faults, but none grants protection against faults but thou. And guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thou. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and indecent morals for thou. And O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and the followers of Muhammad successful, as thou to make Abraham, and the followers of Abraham successful. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and the followers of Muhammad, as thou to bless Abraham and the followers of Abraham. For sure thou art praised and magnified. Amen. Thank you again. Thank you again, and thank you again, inshallah. Next Monday, MAP5, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, 10 o'clock on the West Coast. I think about 12 o'clock Midwestern time. Assalamu alaikum. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. How can I forget my sister? Oh, Allah, please forgive me.
You can't let the dramatic prayer first.
Yes.
Hey. So just two things. When you change what you see also changes.
Yes.
Be prayerful. Be purposeful. Be philanthropic. Be politically engaged. And do something today and this week without the expectation of anything in return. No advertising, don't put it on social media. Don't even tell anybody about it. Just do it because it's the right thing to do.
That's right.
Inshallah, we will see you back next week. And with that,
it's a wrap. Assalamu alaikum.
it's a wrap.
Alhamdulillah.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.